Hello all heroes and welcome to the complete series of the intermediate guide. Just a little while ago, I did 3 parts of the intermediate guide. I wanted to do like a full thing, but time and energy just simply wouldn't allow. I'm a busy boy. Now that I've made the videos, I do still want to kind of put the trilogy into one complete set, and that is what this is, so that all new players have one place they can go for all the handy-dandy tips I have on offer. Some of you might say that this is just a blatant attempt for me to put out another video with a minimal amount of work. Anyways, please enjoy. Today, we're going to be focusing on some slightly more advanced tips and tricks to upgrade your heroes as fast and efficiently as possible, including but not limited to leveling them up with XP and then increasing their levels with rank ups. And the rank ups are a biggie, because when you first start the game, ranking up is very, very intimidating. But we will cover that. So, we're going to get right into it here. You will notice that most characters start out purple. There's a lot of colors in this game that they can crank up to. You got orange, you got red, you got gray, you got gold. There's a lot. So let's get into it here. If we take a peek at, let's take a peek at Angstrom here. Mr. Angstrom Levy. He currently starts out at an elite. A lot of characters do start out at elite. You'll notice there are a lot of levels. Basically, the way to increase a character's max level is 2 things. Getting copies of said character and foddering off characters of the same faction into that character. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see if we can get a halfway decent example here. Let's take a look at our criminals. Let's take a look at our criminals here. We have Mr. Isotope here. He is currently an Elite Plus. To get an Elite Plus Isotope, I needed to have 2 Elite Isotopes, and I combined them together. To level him up from Elite Plus to Exceptional, you can put in any Elite Plus character of the same faction, and that will get him powered up to Exceptional. And then we need an Exceptional Isotope to crank him up to Exceptional Plus. So basically 2 of the same. It's like, okay, makes sense so far. Then after this point, if we wanted to get him to Epic, which we most certainly do not, because he is not worth it. Right now, Exceptional Plus is good for fodder. I'm going to need that in the future. But we will not be powering him up anymore. But if we wanted to, we would need 2 more Elite Plus characters to get him up to Epic. And then an Exceptional Plus Isotope to crank him up to Epic Plus. Is your brain melting yet? If it is, you're not alone. Because now we have stars. Once you get him up to Exceptional Plus, which is the orange one, then stars become a factor. For stars, you need Elite Plus copies of the character. So for example, Powerplex here, I've got him up to 2 stars. If I wanted a 3rd star, I would need another Elite Plus Powerplex to get him up to 3 stars. Then another Elite Plus for 4 stars, and another Elite Plus for 5 stars. Now, that's where it stops, because to get him from Epic Plus 5 stars to the next rarity tier, which is Legendary, the red one, that one, you need 2 Exceptional Plus characters of that faction. They don't have to be Powerplexes. In fact, I would recommend not to use Powerplex if you wanted to get him powered up. But they can be anybody of that faction, in this case being the criminal faction. Once you fodder off those 2 Exceptional Plus characters into your Epic Plus 5-star Powerplex, he becomes a Legendary Powerplex. Now, how do you get Legendary Powerplex up to Legendary Plus? You need an exceptional plus powerplex. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And then once you've done that, guess what? You need more elite plus powerplexes to get him up to the stars. It is intimidating. It is particularly intimidating when you first look at it and when you're starting out, because it does require an unholy amount of fodder. That's why events like new character events and faction events are so important, because they give you a plethora of characters that you can not only build, but also use as fodder. Now, speaking of fodder, if you've played idle games before, there's two sets of characters. There's your elite characters, and there's your rare characters, aka the fodder characters. Most, if not all, of the rare characters are underpowered and typically used as fodder. Now, way back when the game first came out, I gave the advice that you should not use elite characters to power up your roster. No, scrap that. Totally scrap that. You can 150% use elite characters, and frankly, I'd recommend it because, like, let's take a peek at our GDA faction here. I am not gonna give a lick of love to Bulletproof outside of what I've already done, so I'm gonna absolutely use this Bulletproof as fodder. This robot, as amazing as Robot is, I've already got Robot where I want him. I've got him up to Omnipotent Plus, even with 1 star. So I'm going to use my Robot as fodder. Cecils I will not be using as fodder because I need the Cecils to build up my Cecil. And that's the kicker. You want to identify which characters you're building and save those for when you specifically need them. If you're building a robot, don't just burn robots willy-nilly to get him powered up until you actually need your exceptional plus robots or your elite plus robots. So that once you do get him to, like, let's say epic plus, then you've got a nice stockpile of robots that you can boom, 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 start him up so that you can start working on getting him up from epic to legendary. Like I've kind of got for Shrinking right here. If I wanted to power her up, we currently would need 2 exceptional plus GDA characters to get her to legendary. And then after that, I would need more Shrinking Rays. So you can absolutely positively use elite characters. Now, you could try to go the Puritan route of never using elites, but you're in for a world of pain if you try to play the game that way, because you need a lot of fodder characters to get them powered up. Because I haven't really talked about the rare characters, but they're almost worse, because to crank up a rare character to rare plus, you need 3 of that character. And then to crank up a rare plus character to elite, you need 2 more rare plus characters. Meaning just to get an elite rare character, you need 9 total rare characters. Building up these duplicates has been hell. It has been just the worst. I mean, I kind of do it for the memes, but it truly has been just the worst building up duplicates, because it requires an unholy number of duplicates and other rare characters. So it's recommended to use the elite characters that you don't want to build up the elite characters that you do want. Don't be stingy. Don't worry about it too much. There are a couple that you might want to pump the brakes on a little bit. Like, some of these characters are a little more premium. Fula, Lucan, Anissa, Agent Spider, Cecil. Darkwing 2 you can use. Darkwing 2 just kind of sucks. You can use Darkwing 2 for fodder all you want. I think that's totally fine. But some of the more premium characters, you might want to just kind of keep them on reserve just in case. Like, from my Earth's Defenders faction, I have no shortage of Agent Spiders that I could use to power up like my Adam Eve, but I'm saving them to actually build up my Agent Spider, even though I'm not really using him right now, because Agent Spider is a slightly more rare character. Now, why do you want to go through all the trouble of ranking up these characters, because it is a bit of a hassle. Levels. That's why every single rank up gives you plus 20 levels. Take a peek at this Elite Plus Omni-Man here. His highest level is 160. If we take a peek at this Exceptional Cecil, it's 180. Take a peek at this Exceptional Plus Isotope, 200. You get where I'm going with this. Every single rank up, in addition to increasing your stats, which is noteworthy, will give you an extra 20 to your max level. And theoretically, there is no limit. Once you get up to Omnipotent Plus, which of course is the top, Omnipotent Plus's max level is 660. They really like those 606 numbers. It's a little odd, a little sus. But then every time you feed them another Exceptional Plus copy of themselves, like in this case would be an Exceptional Plus Universa, it increases their levels by another 20 and gives them an Omnipotent Plus star. That's a stretch goal. That's where we're getting to expert territory on that one. Don't worry about that right now. Frankly, most characters, I like to get them up to Omnipotent Plus, where the max level is 660, and call it a day. Because that's just the most efficient, and at that point, they're fully functional. So, yeah, you don't have to go crazy like I've done with some of these top characters. Maybe for like your top arena team, you can invest a little bit more in them. But when you're ranking up characters, just take them up to Omnipotent Plus and be done with it. That's the most efficient way. Now, when you're leveling up characters, as you're getting those level ups, you will see that every 20 levels, there is a breakpoint, where it requires a higher number of the blue hero XP and the pink special XP. Now, that can be a pretty massive breakpoint if you don't have those resources. And the majority of those resources you're going to get from either GDA Ops or Cecil's Nightmares. Both of those are your main sources. But here's an important tip. You might notice something here with some of my characters. My Doc Seismic's max level is 660. I've stopped them at 659. Because all of the breakpoints are at 9s. Like 659, but the breakpoint for that was 639. And the breakpoint is not 660. And yes, that is like driving a steak knife through my OCD, but it is so not worth it to get him to the max level and spend the egregious amount of XP and special XP just to get him from 659 to 660. It's a terrible investment, because at that point, it's almost trying to bait you into feeding them another Exceptional Plus to get the other 19 of those levels that you use so much special XP for. But that's the problem, is it's a repeating cycle, because let's say like, for example, this robot, let's say I did get him all the way up to 679. Well, guess what? Same thing. You've still got one level that you could get. But then if you spend special XP on that, that's another 19 levels that you're not going to be able to get easy peasy unless you give them another Exceptional Plus. It's weird. Of all the factors of this game that I love, and there are quite a few, this one has always been odd. I have always said that this game needs some kind of a synchronization feature, not unlike AFK Arena or Nikkei, where everybody kind of levels up as one. But unfortunately, to create that feature, they'd have to like literally overhaul the entire game. And okay, yeah, they're probably not going to do that. Let's be real here. So yeah. So what's my advice to you? Don't worry about getting to that very last little one. And with the exception of maybe your top 5 arena team, stop at Omnipotent Plus. That will keep you plenty busy just trying to get your characters up that high. Don't worry about the stars. You don't need a 19-star Universal like what I've got. If you decide to go that route, it's incredibly helpful, I can say from experience. But you don't need it. So I'm going to leave it at that for now as far as upgrading characters. In part 2 of the intermediate guide, I think we're going to start going over actual skill upgrades, because that's its own thing, and that's a video in and of itself. So we're going to worry about that in the coming days, but for now we're going to leave it at that with your XP level ups and your rank ups. Let me know down in the comments below if that helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to go either to the comment section of this video or go to the Discord, because this admittedly is a complicated feature. I will not deny it. Once you do kind of start to get into your rhythm, you start doing events, you start doing the GDA ops that give you characters, it gets easier. It does get easier as you get more experience, as you get more muscle in your team, and they have created exponentially more ways to get characters. In the beginning of the game, it was dire. Nowadays, though, it's better. It's not nearly as bad nowadays. Once you kind of figure out the rhythm, you'll get it. Usually every weekend there's a GDA op that gives you some freebies every 4 hours, based on like a faction. There's events that'll give you free characters, even if you don't spend gems or money, that you can usually squeak out some freebies. There are ways to get characters in the various events, and just as you get more into the game. So take it slow. Don't be panicked. Don't feel like it's a race to get to your first Omnipotent Plus character. It's not. This is a marathon, not a race. Patience is a virtue in this game. Trying to be impatient will have you either torturing yourself or spending dramatically more money than you should. So just take it slow. It's an idle game. They're meant to be slow. Every character, minus our Lord and Savior, Flax the Soldier, and the other common characters, every single character has skill level up potential. And it can be intimidating because there's two factors. One, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of skills to level up. Each character has 4 skills. Each skill has 10 level ups. That's 40 level ups right there, and that's only on one character, and they are not cheap in terms of resources. Molecular enhancements are a shockingly rare resource. It's gotten a teensy-weensy bit better over time, but the simple fact of the matter is that these bad boys are tough to get. They are very tough to get. So let's talk about molecular enhancements and skill rank ups. Now, the first and foremost reliable way to get these materials is the well done GDA op all the way down at the bottom. You'll notice it's at the bottom because this was actually not a thing when the game was first conceived. When it was globally released, there were not actually skill ups in the game. Although funny enough, there was one very brief buggy patch that went out where everybody got their like maximum skills. So clearly they were cooking it up for a while. They just hadn't gotten there yet. So this is the GDA op that specifically gives these materials. Blue molecular enhancements and pink molecular enhancements. And if you think those are a lot like our current XP system, yeah, you're exactly right. That is exactly what it is. The blue is the standard, and then the pink is what you get every few breakpoints. You don't need as much of the pink molecular enhancements, but on the flip side of that, the pink molecular enhancements are a lot more rare, and that is going to get very difficult to say in a hot second here, but that's okay. So that's the standard way. Additionally, the weekly Cecil's Nightmare event, praise the fish, the weekly Cecil's Nightmare event actually does give molecular enhancements. This is actually probably your greatest source outside of GDA ops. The GDA ops, something you can always rely on. This thing, I mean, you get it once a week, but it is a pretty good infusion. Additionally, you also get your XP, your dossiers, all that good stuff. So even outside of the molecular enhancements, this bad boy is just good to do. Other nightmares will have molecular enhancements, like especially these hero nightmares. Of course, that can be a little more on the whale baity side, but that's neither here nor there. point is, nightmares are your other best way to get molecular enhancements. Other than that, you can get some in the equipment shop. It's rare, and I don't think you even get them immediately. Like, if we take a peek at what I'm at, the chance of grabbing molecular enhancements are 2%, which is not very high. If we go back a bit, let's see how long it takes us to even unlock the option, much less have any kind of consistency to it. Let's go to 8. Okay, so we're at 0.05 at level 8. Let's check out level 7. Okay, there you have it. Level 8 is when you can get molecular enhancements from this shop, and they are rare. The good news is that if they pop up for money, for gold, I should say, they're very cheap. They're like a couple million, I think they're like 8 million gold, which is not actually that much. So if they do pop up, they're easy to get. If it's gems, then you're just kind of crap out of luck unless you use one of the orange catch-all tickets. But that's the other way you can get it, but it is only once you get your equipment shop leveled up and with a noteworthy amount of luck. The final way, if we go to GDA passes here, is the progression pass does have a decent pile on the freebie side. We do have 20 right there. I think this is actually a limit of 2, so I think it's technically 60, but I could be wrong. The point is, even if you're not getting the paid side, you can actually get a noteworthy pile from this pass here, but that's only like every 2 weeks. So that's kind of an extra little bonus as opposed to a reliable source. So, you have your skill materials. You're starting to accumulate them. Now comes the big question. Who to level up? Whose skills should you level up? Should you level up all their skills? Should you level them up all the way? Well, to those last 2 questions, not necessarily. Not all skills are created equal. Some are really good, some give mediocre improvements at best. Let's talk Universa real quick, and this is, and you know, we're gonna have our Universa propaganda hour here. But the simple fact of the matter is that her 4th ability here, Tripping the Light Fantastic, is such a good ability because it effectively makes her a mass AoE character every time she gets a crit. This thing goes crazy in Cecil's Nightmares, in Arena, in GDA Ops. If there is one ability in this entire game that I would recommend you take to level 10, it's Tripping the Light Fantastic, Universa's 4th ability, just because of how much it can do. At level 1, it ain't much. It's basically an extra little tickle to one more enemy. At level 10, it can mow down entire waves in a single hit. I'm telling you, this one, you will not be disappointed. And hey, if you need a Universa and you haven't used it already, you can use my code, SHVDYT, shoved YT. Yeah, would appreciate that. Not that it actually does anything for me, funny enough. I'm not sure why I'm saying this is like a... It doesn't actually do me anything, it just makes me feel good. It's for personal pleasure. And you know what? I'm a simple guy. I like what I like, sue me. Point is, Tripping the Light Fantastic is really, really, really good. Additionally, Invincible, Mr. Invincible Mark Grayson himself. He's got quite a few abilities that are amazing. In fact, all of them are pretty much. His top ability here greatly multiplies his damage if you take it all the way to 10, because at level 1, it's 3 hits. At level 10, it's 5 hits, and a shorter cooldown while you're at it. In addition to higher damage and even some lifesteal while he's at it. That is a huge damage boost, almost doubling the damage that this ability can do. If there's a second ability I would recommend taking to level 10, it's this ability. All of his other abilities are worth mentioning too. This one, you don't really have to take it to level 10, but I would give it just a little bit of love. The problem with these passive abilities, the second ability typically, leveling them up is powerful. But for the resources, the level ups can feel underwhelming. especially when compared to abilities like what we just went over with Universa or Mark's other abilities. Getting a 0.5% or 1% on his passive, while certainly helpful, especially in Arena, it is not mind-blowing. It's not as flashy as some of the other abilities. However, it is good. Quite frankly, all of Mark's abilities are good. His third ability means that he can be shielded longer. Being unable to be hit longer is kinda nice. His fourth ability means he stays stronger longer. That rhymed. That's kinda nice. But you don't necessarily have to take these up to level 10, even though it is certainly profitable. His main ability, though, Supersonic, is probably the one you want to take to level 10 if you wanted to choose one. Now, if we want to talk about a character that's really hard to choose from, Adam Eve. I've taken 3 out of her 4 abilities to level 10, and for very good reason. She starts, I've said it before, I'll say it again. She starts at a low floor, but hits a sky-high ceiling. Her healing is not as good as Robot at base. You crank her up, and she can do some wild stuff. The only ability I have not given a whole lot of love is Blowback, because it demands that you have a team member. Now, if you do have a team member, she can deflect an actual ton of health back at the opponent. But there is still that pretty aggressive restriction. And let's not forget that team is pretty slim. It's Adam Eve and Robot, who is really the only other practical one. And then you've got Duplicate and Rex, both of whom are rare characters in the game. So just not as powerful. Still, if you do run her with Robot, that's a lot of healing, and then you get some damage bouncing while you're at it. If we want to talk other, more specific examples of characters to build up, I'm actually going to point to Seismic. Because Seismic is ridiculous. Seismic does an actual ton of damage. This ability right here, Viltrumite enemies see their energy defense reduced. I actually would not give this a whole lot of love. You could, if you just really wanted to go crazy for Seismic, but 20% is still really good on its own, and again, like I said before, while it is an upgrade, it's really hard to make it feel worth it when you're only getting 2% for the massive amount of resources it takes. So, yeah, maybe pass on that one. Maybe don't pass on these, because Grounded number 1, if you get it maxed out, he can stun enemies for up to 3 seconds. Shockwave is one that he will trigger very, very often. This one, here's the kicker with this one. You don't get a massive attack boost, and the stun is still 3 seconds. But the fact that level 10 reduces it down all the way to 10 seconds means that he can bounce around very often and stun very often. So even though it is only a cooldown reduction, that's a nice cooldown reduction. Let's not kid ourselves here. And then, of course, you have Bow Before Doc Seismic, which, in addition to having a very nice cooldown at level 10, does just great damage to grounded enemies. This one, however, you could probably stop at, like, let's say, level 7 takes you down to 22 seconds. That's pretty good. But you want to prioritize his 3rd and 4th abilities just because of how often he can do these abilities and how much damage they can do to disrupt the opposing team. Again, this ability, just like his 4th one, can go all the way down to 10 seconds. That's very fast for a stunning cooldown, or a stunning ability, especially considering it stuns for 3 seconds at level 10. So Seismic, don't sleep on him, especially because up until recently, criminals have struggled for relevancy outside of Doc Seismic. So hey, if Seismic is the one cornerstone criminal character there is, you might as well crank him up. You might as well. A couple other honorary mentions. Russ Livingston, if you take his ability up to around level 5, level 6, I forget which one, in addition to getting lifesteal, he gets an invader attack bonus. This works for characters like Universa being the biggest one, I believe a lot of Viltrumites as well. In fact, okay, yeah, so you've got Anissa and Conquest, who are both considered invaders. You'll note that Thula and Lucan are not invaders. And that's probably because, as far as the show is concerned, they have not actually made their way to Earth yet. So they have not invaded. But Anissa and Conquest most certainly have. And it is kind of amusing because back when Rust first came out with this skill, that skill was like exclusively Universa. And you know what? That was enough. But especially in a post-Anissa and Conquest day and age, yeah, just having even the 15% attack boost at level 5, just having that works just fine, or level 6. Like, I think it's 10% at level 5, but I could be wrong. Like, you don't even have to worry about his other stuff. I mean, this is all fine and dandy. Like, this one you can ignore. This one's okay. This one's okay. But frankly, his passive is one you want because of that attack boost to some of the best characters in the game. Powerplex is one to consider. His passive is actually pretty good because, yeah, okay, you're only getting some modicum improvements to his percentages. But when those percentages work on characters like Doc Seismic, that can actually take you a long way. So yeah. That's not a bad starting point for your skill ups. Another good tip for skill ups: probably use them on the characters you use the most or your strongest. If you're throwing, the good news is that coincides with a lot of the advice I'm giving. But if you're throwing Universa, Invincible, and Adam Eve into your arena fights, you might want to give them some skill levels so that they can do even better. Bonus points if you're powering up your top 5. There's also Cecil's Nightmares. There's also GDA Ops. Just some very important things to consider. You want to use these items wisely. They are fairly rare. They have been getting a little bit better over time, but at the end of the day, they are still a rare resource that you don't want to waste. If you invest in the characters that I listed earlier in this video, you will get some pretty good return on investment. But at the end of the day, hey, you know what? If you really wanted to get Rexplode or Damien Darkblood skill up, I mean, at the end of the day, just have fun. But if you are trying to optimize, these tips will serve you well. GDA Ops are this right here on this page. It's basically a big chunk of the idle gameplay where you chuck your heroes into various levels here with various times and various rewards. For example, Train and Gain is a 2-hour event, so every 2 hours you will get rewards and then you can restart the mode. Same goes for Downtown Destruction, except it's 4 hours, etc., varying depending on which is which. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking this is more of a beginner guide because the GDA Ops you unlock pretty quick. However, in addition to talking about what GDA Ops you should prioritize, we are going to do some brief overviews of the teams you can use to really succeed in these ops. So, there are 4 ops that you really want to focus on, in my opinion. First of all, this is heavy, because it actually just straight up gives the currency to upgrade all your ops. Every single one of them, minus Schools Out because that one doesn't have upgrades, uses the green currency that you get in mass from the This Is Heavy op. It's a longer one. I think it's like 8 hours if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you want to give this event some love because you need the currency. You just straight up do. After that, Train and Gain and Downtown Destruction should be your 2 priorities. It is really anyone's guess which one is considered the higher priority. I will say my blue XP tends to run out faster than my pink XP. That's just me, though. I don't know why that happens. I really couldn't tell you. But these are both kind of equal in value. You kind of want to hit them both, if we're being totally honest. And then on kind of the later end of the spectrum is the well done GDA op that gives you the molecular enhancement. I always have the hardest time with that one. The molecular enhancements that you need for skilling up your characters. Now, there are two farm teams that I have found a great deal of success in. First of all is this team, Train, and the team I'm currently using, I should say, on Train and Gain. You'll notice what we have here is a Universa, we have 2 level 1 Agent Spiders, we have a Flaxen Leader, and we have a Russ. Now, the two easiest ones to understand are, of course, the Flaxen Leader and Russ. They are strictly for support purposes. Flaxen Leader's Elite Plus ability will just straight up increase the rewards you get from an op by a percentage. I mean, more XP is more XP. What can I say? Russ, the reason he's here is actually his passive ability if you do give it a little bit of leveling. His main skill here, attack all humans. It starts out just giving allies lifesteal when attacking humans, which is okay. But once you get to around level 5 or 6, you get an invader buff that increases their attack. And what invader do we specifically care about? Miss Universa. Miss Universa here is the... You know, I didn't mean to make a Miss Universe joke there, but it just kind of happened. She's the cornerstone of the team. She will literally be doing 99% of the damage, with Russ chipping in a little bit here and there. Specifically because of this, Tripping to Life Fantastic, where every time she performs a crit, she basically hits the entire team, and on the lower waves can even just straight up wipe out an entire wave in one shot. Now, why does this work? Because of this ability right here, Energy Transfer. Universa increases her critical chance by 10% for each last line of defense ally defeated during the battle. Here's the thing with this. I'm not seeing that it has any kind of limit per se. Like, it doesn't, like, time out, if I'm not mistaken. So if a last line of defense ally perishes in the GDA op, she just permanently gets crit. So, to facilitate this, we have 2 level 1 Agent Spiders who will constantly die. Once we get to the higher levels and they're not all just falling like paper, they will perish quick. Real quick. And it's going to crank up her crit rate to basically guaranteed levels. And she will basically constantly fry the entire team, no matter what. And with her just raw amazing stats, her AoE strikes, and Russ's power boost he's giving her, I mean, even right now, she's just mopping waves like it's nothing. But even later on, this team can get up past a level 1000 easy. Now, the second team I really love here is a Viltrumite team. Now, the core of this team is Thula. Reason for Thula here is because of her passive. Take a peek at her. Passives really make or break these teams, and you'll see why very quickly. A Lust for Death here means that Thula increases her attack every time an ally or enemy Viltrumite dies in battle. You'll notice I put 3 freaking level 1 Viltrumites in the team. They will, or I think Lucan's technically like level 39, details. Once she gets up to higher levels, or higher waves, they will die constantly if they're not already. Keep in mind, Kid Oliver is technically a Viltrumite, which means that she's going to be having a power boost very often, especially in the later stages where, you know, the enemy's going to be a little bit stronger, and they'll mow through the level 1 characters very, like that Invincible just freaking bit it from that isotope. They will constantly die, meaning that Thula will constantly be getting some very tasty buffs. Now, I also have a Nissa in here. Nissa is not strictly necessary, per se, but I like using her especially in this particular op because of her passive that decreases humans' defense based on her attack stat. And most of the characters in here are human. You'll notice they're all criminals, and if I'm not mistaken, the vast majority of them, if not all of them, are human. Let me actually... Is Kursk, does he count as human? I don't actually know. Well, let's see, do you count as human? Do you count? Yes, he does. Delightful. So he's getting his defense nuked too, because why not? That's what you get for trying to breathe. it works particularly well. But honestly, minus the Anissa passive that requires humans, a Thula Viltrumite Slaughter team works just fine in just about anywhere. I like having it on this one because I need XP. I could be persuaded to put one of these teams on This Is Heavy. Universal would work because Universal would work just about anywhere. And then this fight does have a few human characters and Viltrumites on the enemy team, so Thula could work very well on this as well. The thing is with that though, even though XP is necessary to the green XP is necessary to power up these GDA ops, I'm kind of to the point where I don't necessarily need it. I mean, I've got both Training Gain and Downtown Destruction at rank 20 at least, with Training Gain being at rank 21. I could give Well Done a little bit of love, but Well Done is surprisingly expensive to level up for some reason. So I kind of just have my B team in here, which is just my criminal team. They're not doing too well, they're not doing too hot, but honestly, what can you expect when the only character of note on this team is Seismic? Everybody else is pretty aggressively underpowered. If I gave them some love, gave them some levels, which I will be doing in the future, then I think this team would be doing much, much better. Right now, they just don't have the stats to pay the bills, so I just kind of chuck them in here. And kind of same goes for Training Gain, or not Training Gain, Well Done. This one is just my strongest heroes. Okay, so after Well Done, the other two ops that I do work on specifically are Everyone Who's Anyone and the Guardians Around the Globe. Anyone Who's Anyone, or Everyone Who's Anyone, is specifically artifact XP, and occasionally some artifact parts if you're lucky. The rewards on that one are not great, I'm not gonna lie. I pretty much just run that one to get more points for my my progression pass. And then Guardians Around the Globe is gear. Every now and then at higher levels you can squeak something decent out of this. I've seen Seismic gear. I've never seen Omnipotent gear out of this, which I guess, I mean, technically it might be possible. If you reach maybe a higher wave, it might have a higher chance, I don't know. But basically, I do that for some extra, mostly just extra fodder to power up my existing Omnipotent or Seismic gear. One more note that I did just remember. You'll notice here I have all 6 slots open. That 6th slot requires gems, and it's a rather hefty number. The only reason I got it unlocked was, again, extra points for the progression pass, because that way I get more value out of it. Get more XP, crank up my heroes faster. Yeah, I don't really need it though, for being totally honest. Like, literally, you could just not do the Guardians of the Globe one, or not do the Everyone Who's Anyone GDA op. Both of those are pretty null, honestly. So yeah, don't get that 5th one unless you're like me and trying to maximize your progression past. As far as the others, there's Turning Up the Heat, which is like a really short one. Really only worry about this if you're trying to like complete an achievement or something. Other than that, it's so short and all it gives is gold. You don't really need it. Reaniman Rampage is kind of a similar thing. This one actually does give both kinds of XP, and if you give it some love, it can actually be pretty profitable. The problem is that 30-minute timer requires you to check on it early and often, otherwise you are losing value by the truckload. So I just don't worry about it. You can see I've only got it like rank 6. I have not given it a single bit of love since day 1. But yeah, so that is GDA Ops pretty much explained with some potential teams. I cannot think off the top of my head of other teams you could run that are like super synergistic. Outside of like the Thula team, the Thula core team, the Universa core team, there are a couple min-maxing things you can do. If you want additional tips, go to the Discord. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Discord is a fantastic source of players willing to help you out. Would highly recommend it because they might have some team ideas that I might not have. But we will wrap it up there. Let me know down in the comments below if these guides have helped you, and we shall see you next time. Have a good one.